Well, after a little vacation, actually took some time off of work and did a little bit of traveling, just myself, and went to Florida to visit some family. I actually drove, and that led me to purchase a couple things, and also my family gave me some things while I was in Florida that hopefully I can use around here. However, I need a trailer, so this video is probably part one in a 3 or 4 part series that I'm going to do on a couple different things. Normally I have only ever had the 18-foot PJ back there, but now I have an 18-foot Triple Crown. And then the reason I bought this trailer is basically to get this machine right here home. In conjunction, I also have a landscape rake and then a pallet jack in the back there. This trailer was purchased mainly for the piece of equipment in the middle, and we'll do a kind of unwrapping video of it. It is something I have wanted for quite a while, and I have been shopping for it for a while. It weighs between 2,000 and 2,500 pounds. I don't have an exact weight on it. Basically found it in Florida and brought it home. Yeah, and that was the reason I bought the trailer. Now I have a trailer I need to sell. So I figured I'd do in the next 2 or 3 videos. This video, I'm more or less going to talk about this machine and talk about the trip a little bit. And then in the next video, I'm actually going to compare the 2 trailers. Not necessarily as a what you should buy, but just kind of a, when you start trailer shopping, there's about 18 million different options. And I'm going to compare these 2 and kind of walk through them of why I'm actually keeping the 2015 PJ over this 2021 Triple Crown. So onto this machine. So right here in front of us, we have, I believe it's a 1988 Bridgeport mill. It is a variable speed mill. It is obviously wrapped up for transport. The reason it is wrapped up like it is because I had to drive through. Luckily, I planned my trip well enough that I only had about 3 hours of rain I had to drive through, but that rain had the chance of becoming snow and freezing rain, and I didn't want this thing getting wet. So basically, the outer layer, the duct tape, is designed to keep the shrink wrap or the plastic wrap from flapping. And then there is a layer, there's a tarp. It is a 12, I think it's 12 by 16 tarp underneath that. There's another layer of plastic wrap, and then there's another tarp and a layer of plastic wrap, and then there are some garbage bags around all the electronics. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on unwrapping this thing after I go over how kind of I chained it down, because I think things like that are extremely important, particularly when you're working with these machines. So that will be, I'm going to go over the chaining it down in a different video. And who knows, some people might say, that's not the way you do it. I've got this many years of experience, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I can tell you that the way I chained this thing down, I drove it 1,600 and some odd miles, somewhere between 65 and 85 miles an hour, and very little, I mean, you can see it didn't move at all or anything like that. So, but yeah. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Let me get the camera set up and we will go from there. Well, I was going to get the camera set up, but then I decided I'm going to actually do this from the ground. So what we've got, I don't want to undo anything until I go over how I've got this strapped down to the trailer. So this came out of a garage. The guy that I bought it from had no way to move it. So actually what we did is we got it, basically did it about 1 inch at a time, got it up on these 4x4s, bolted the 4x4s to the bottom, and then that is actually how we transported it from his house near Daytona, Florida, over to the other side of the state. And what we use to get it home is, if you've ever seen a drop deck trailer, so that's the type of trailer that you use for a forklift or a scissor lift or something like that, not a tilt deck, but a drop deck, where basically the entire deck of the trailer sits down on the ground. We use this pallet jack right here that my parents had, that they gave to me. We use the pallet jack along with the skids that we put under there. We use that to basically get underneath it. After we got it away from the wall, we use that to And we have some machinery dollies that I'll show later that we moved it away from the wall on. And then we rolled it onto this drop deck trailer and we chained it down and brought it across the state. And then I bought this trailer the next day and kind of went from there. So what we did to get it up here is it's lagged. So there's some, I think those are 7 or 8 inch lag bolts. They're lagged down into the 4x4s. The 4x4s are lagged to the deck of the trailer. Now, at the same time, what we did is we took these chains, we wrapped around the base. That way we weren't hitting any part of the machine that was going to cause any issues along those lines in terms of, you know, scraped surfaces or anything like that. Each chain has at least 2 wraps on it. Comes basically, one comes from this side, wraps around and goes back there. The other one comes and wraps around and comes back here. So it's being pulled on equally from both sides. Now, we actually do have an extra chain back here because this chain was not long enough, so we had to use 2 chains. All of these chains are, these are the same chains that I use to move the 4066 around. So they should be perfectly fine, particularly for this machine that weighs about 2,000 pounds. Now, the big thing with strapping one of these down is the fact that most of the weight sits right in this area right here. So 1, it makes it extremely top heavy, and 2, it's just awkward to sit on a trailer. So if you, we actually have it a little too far for this side, but it didn't actually ride funny or anything. But what I did notice is the trailer, we took us a couple times to reposition it. But if you look, the load is actually in front of the axles. You can see I have, or you can't see it quite yet unless you know what you're looking at. But I have the bed all the way forward on the Bridgeport. And basically, the load is centered over the front axle, and then we have everything else in front of that, so the landscape brake. So this actually towed really, really nice for the trip, and I mean, I drove 1,600 miles, took it out for a test drive after I got it strapped down, and I went from there. Now, the primary thing holding this to the trailer are the 4 lag bolts and the chains. I also, mostly just for show, I went and took 4 D-rings. So I've had D-rings for a long time to load stuff on trailers because I think that D-rings are very, very handy, particularly when you have a wood deck trailer. And basically I have these D-rings bolted to the floor of the trailer, and I just have straps going over the top. And that way, you know, if a DOT officer or something like that saw it, this is a perfectly legal setup for the weight. But if the DOT officer saw it, he also saw that there's straps on top, basically pulling it down. Naturally, I had all of my yellow straps with me, but only one of them had the J-hook configuration. All the others, if you can see that J-hook down there, most all the other had the stake pocket configuration. So I actually had to get a little creative with my over-the-top straps. I don't think the over-the-top straps were needed, but they were something that I wanted to put on there just basically for show, for lack of a better term. That way nobody was concerned as I drove through, you know, basically, let's see here, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, and South Dakota. So nobody said anything. Actually had several state troopers follow me for a while. I think they were looking at things. But that is how I had it strapped down to the trailer. I think it was very effective. I think that if you are thinking about, you know, moving one of these, when it comes to moving heavy items like this, it becomes a lot more important than, say, a mower, garden tractor, things like that. Did you push onto the trailer? Yes. A garden tractor, you know, like say the 455 there, it can weigh 1,000, 1,500 pounds with a deck on it, but it can roll on it. It doesn't have a high center of gravity like this thing. And you have to remember that the center of gravity, the head on this is actually turned upside down, which I'll show you when I take the plastic off. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those deals that it's very important to get the loading right. And so many times people don't want, you know, they don't want their truck, they don't want a rough ride or something like that. And you're going to have to transfer some of the weight to the truck, you know, period. You just have to. So I did, and it transferred to the truck just fine. A lot of you have seen the truck that I have. It's a 2013 Super Duty, 3/4 ton, so it does just fine. This was a terrible load to haul in terms of fuel mileage. I got going down without a trailer, I was getting 19 to 21 miles per gallon. Coming back, I got somewhere between 11 and 13. I was expecting 14 to 15. I've pulled a trailer that far before. So I think it's how this thing was sitting on there and the windage and everything for it. So this trailer does have ramps. I've pulled the ramps off because I didn't want basically two gigantic sails in the back of the trailer, pushing wind as well. So overall, it came through just fine, and now I've got it here in South Dakota, so now I need to get this thing unwrapped, and we'll go from there. All right, let's see how long this takes. Okay, there's one layer off. Now to untie some ropes. Never good for a phone. Alright, so they don't have a heap of time on the card of the camera. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing unwrapped. That way I've got some minutes left to show it to you. Alright, got the Bridgeport all unwrapped. So, as I said before, this is a 1988 Bridgeport, variable speed, knee mill, vertical mill, whatever you're gonna call it. There are some parts missing that I have. This handle I just took off for transportation. I've got the head obviously turned upside down. It has it's got, I think, a power crossbar. It was off the machine when I bought it. It's got a DRO, or digital readout, and I just got to put all that back on there. I took it off because I didn't want it on there for the trip, because it was big and ungainly. And like I said, I went ahead and rotated the head around. It has a Bridgeport power feed on it. It's got the DRO is a 2-axis Accurate Bridgeport branded DRO. Mill seemed to run fine. It originally, the guy I bought it from had it about a year, and he was using it to do some framework, and he didn't need it anymore, and so I bought it. Overall, really happy with it. I'm looking forward to getting it set up. It's going to take me a while to get it set up because I've got to, it's extremely dirty. I'll climb up there if you look at it. It is extremely dirty, and you know, it's, I mean, it's still got metal all over it. The table is dirty. I mean, the machine itself is dirty. I mean, you can see all the grease and grime and everything on it. So I'll get it cleaned up. Hopefully my plan is, for those of you that normally follow my channel, I hope the John Deere 4066R will lift this. I hope so. I'll have to lift it off the trailer from this side. Since this is the heavier side, I don't think I can do it from the other side. I used my parents' 6415 to put it on the trailer while I was at their house. So I think that's about it for the mill right now. We'll get back to it in probably a couple videos as I'm getting it off the trailer. I'll probably get it off the trailer here in the next couple days because I need to sell the trailer. So in fact, that'll be the next video that I make. I'll compare the two trailers. So if you're interested in trailers, feel free to watch. If not, there'll be more Bridgeport and lathe videos in the future. So thanks for watching.